Have you ever noticed how some entrepreneurs walk into a room and instantly grab everybody's attention? They're not necessarily the richest or even the smartest, but the way they tell their story makes you believe in their vision. Why is that? No matter in business or in life, stories shape reality. They have the power to persuade and move resources. Today, we will share a study from the Academy of Management journal AMJ by Martens, Jennings, and Jennings, titled "Do the Stories They Tell Get Them the Money They Need?" Applying the psychology of communication, identity, and sense-making in storytelling. Why stories matter in organizations? Humans have been telling stories for over 100,000 years around campfires, in the boardrooms, and now on TikTok. Why? Because stories are our default language of meaning. When someone asks you about your business, you don't give them a list of data points. You tell them a story. Back in 2015, my husband and I met at a coffee town in the mountains on the Mexico-Guatemala border, where coffee wasn't just a drink. It was the connection between culture, people, and care. We want to bring this authenticity to the people around us back in the US and started our own coffee business. According to narrative scholars, stories do big things in organizations, including creating identity, because they help individuals construct character and help others understand who they are. Making sense of complexity, because stories configure apparently independent and disconnected elements of existence into related parts of a whole. And inspiring actions as it's packing information about a firm's existing resources and endowments into an appealing format that help decrease information asymmetry. And that's what Martens and colleagues wanted to test in the study. They asked the question, can storytelling help entrepreneurs acquire critical resources like the investment capital? The study. The researchers studied 169 high-tech companies in semiconductors, biotech, and internet industries that filed for IPOs between 1996 and 2000. When a company goes public, it creates a massive document called a prospectus, which is a legal technical report filled with financial data, risk factors, and business plans. But even in those serious documents, the researchers found stories. Each company described who they are, what they want to achieve, and the challenges they face, and how they would overcome them, just like telling a story about the corporation. The authors argue that storytelling isn't just a nice to have. It is a strategic communication tool that helps overcome two key barriers in entrepreneurship, including information asymmetry and uncertainty. Investors know less about your business than you do, and no one can truly predict which startup will succeed. A well-told story bridges those gaps. It makes investors feel they understand the company and trust its potential. Martens and his team identified three powerful ways stories help entrepreneurs attract resources. Let's look at them one by one. First, constructing identity. Who are we? The first function of storytelling is to define identity. A company's story communicates who it is and why it matters. The researchers found 6 common story identities across IPOs, including established leader, which communicates that we pioneered this industry and you investors should bet on something proven. Aspiring leader with track record, which communicates that we've succeeded once, we'll do it again. So you investors should join our next success story. Aspiring leader with logical plans communicates that we have a solid strategy and you investors should know we are smart, calculated, and ready. Aspiring leader with social ties communicates that big names believe in us and you can trust us just as others already do. Potential contender communicates that we are the bold underdog and you investors should take a chance because we are the next big thing. Non-contender communicates that we are struggling but hopeful, so please help us survive. This process of identity construction presents who they are to the world, and even in legally binding IPO documents. Companies selectively highlight certain facts and downplay others to craft a desired identity. The second communication power of storytelling is sensemaking and elaboration. Why does our strategy make sense? It is to give logic and coherence to actions. A story connects the dots between risks and strategies, between what could go wrong and what we will do about it. For instance, we know the biotech industry is unpredictable, so we will diversify our product pipeline to reduce risk. That's not random talk. That's what researchers call elaboration, explaining how and why strategies reduce uncertainty. Martens and his colleagues even mapped these connections visually as story maps, linking risk factors to strategic actions. They found that firms that explained their plans clearly but not excessively were more successful in raising capital. When you have too little explanation, investors think you are vague. Well, when you have too much, they think you're overcompensating. The sweet spot is clarity without clutter. The third communication power of storytelling is contextual embedding. Why should you care? Finally, great stories connect to something bigger, the broader context. It's not just we make chips, it's we power the digital revolution. That's contextual embedding, linking your company's narrative to a broader culture or industry trend. The study found that the most persuasive entrepreneurs did something brilliant. They blended familiar strategies that felt safe and recognizable with unfamiliar ones that felt innovative and exciting. That balance of familiarity and novelty created optimal distinctiveness, where you are unique but not strange, bold but not risky. It applies not only to entrepreneurs, but to every leader trying to promote change in organizations. If your message feels too radical, people resist it. If it's too familiar, people ignore it. But if it's both familiar and fresh, people engage. What the numbers showed. So, do stories really make a difference? Yes, and the data proved it. After analyzing 169 IPOs, the researchers found that companies with strong identity narratives, clear but not overly detailed logic, and balanced contextual storytelling raised significantly more capital and had higher market valuations. Even after controlling for financials, management quality, and underwriter prestige, narratives still mattered. The Martens et al. Study showed that the way you communicate does have financial consequences. Entrepreneurs use stories to reduce uncertainty, inspire confidence, and shape perceptions. The same applies to leaders, managers, and teams in any organization. Every time you pitch an idea, explain a strategy, or handle a crisis, you're crafting a narrative about your organization's identity and future. So whether you're launching a startup or managing a global team, remember this: the story you tell shapes the reality you live. Thanks for watching.